Emily Volk. I'm a junior, and I'm the student chair on the arts committee. So I've been tasked with inviting some of these people. And we all like arts the most, don't we? So this is Rhythm and Words, panel number 3205. We are in UMC 235, and this panel will run till 2:20 today. So today's panel is about rhythm and words. What does that mean? I argue that rhythm flows throughout every aspect of our life, and I think words are layered on top of that to create meaning from there. But I think the most important part is to remember that cohesive foundation. So as many different variations are on top of that, I think if you can tap into some sort of common rhythm is what we're going to be doing today, physically, musically, in conversation, and with all of you. So I ask you to be a little bit flexible with this panel. We do have a little bit of visibility challenges because it's a flat room. We also might ask you to move at a certain point in order to make some more room for the performers. They'll direct you if they need that. So just be open and welcome to that. It will be in everybody's best interests. And also feel flexible if you don't see what you want to see and you need a different angle. Just be cognizant of if you're blocking anybody, but feel free to stand in the back of the room. Probably not in aisles because we do need some space for people to get in and out. But you're also welcome to come on the sides as long as, again, you're not obstructing anybody's view. So, for starters, we're all here together. And I'd like you all to just take a moment. This is a little bit hippie. It feels like we're in a yoga class. But I want you to find your heartbeat. Everybody have it? So just remember that. I don't know what pace it is. I don't know what speed. If you're comfortable now, I'd like you to find the person next to you, to your right or left, their wrist. And if they're comfortable with it, please ask their permission. Find their heartbeat. I hope everybody has a heartbeat. Otherwise, just let me know and we'll find some service for that.
Oh, here it is. I got it.
I walked in knowing my heartbeat. Yeah, you're a little excited, aren't you? I think mine has just gotten to stable.
Yeah, I found it. You should use your fingers. Is he in your thumb?
Nice.
It is. Very organic.
So Ron's told me mine's a little fast. I must be a little nervous with you all in the room. But I hope you've all found at least 2 points of beat and rhythm in the room. And just remember that everybody has that. And when you connected in that chain, you might have even connected throughout a row. So from there, we're going to transition into speaking and performing about rhythm and words and what that means to each of these individual performers. We're welcomed by a ton of talented musicians, artists, storytellers, dancers, people, speakers, human beings on this stage. I'll give you just a brief intro to everybody. Also, I'm sorry that their name tags can't be more visible, so maybe just repeat their names in your head as I say that. So starting, we have Ronald Wilkins. He's a trombonist and vocalist that everybody loves. So I'm guessing that many of you heard him performing last night at the jazz concert. He's amazing. He's a New York City-based performance artist, and he also informed us beforehand that the Tuvin throat singing, which is the low hum that he can sometimes make, he's apparently been able to do that since he was 3 years old. So acquired, naturally. Next we have Claire Marianne Murphy, who is a longtime member of City. She has been to CWA many, many years. She's taken about 3 years off, but we're so happy she can join us this year. She was, in fact, demanded by one man I worked with on a museum project this year. They said, so in order for you to be involved with this, you need to bring me back Claire. And she just performed an hour-long story before this, so she might be a little whooped, but I'm so happy to have her here. She's performed at venues including the Globe Theatre, the National Theatre, the Barbican Theatres in London, and she's worked with incredible organizations across the world. Next, we have Lena Gutschank. Lena is very multi-talented. She is now a multilingual director, choreographer, and project manager across Europe and across the world. She's been a circus performer for many years and has also started a organization helping collaborative organization and performance and venue finding of circuses around the European area called Network Circus. She also is an amazing mentor and investor in different artistic and creative startups across the United States and really around the world. So. Ernie Watts is a jazz musician and composer, also a member of the Jazz Council. I don't even know how to do Ernie's bio because it's too big. So he's been here for many years. I'm sure you all know and love Ernie Watts. He's an amazing educator and amazing performer. He's been performing with just all the best, and he is one of the best. Started saxophone at age 13, hasn't stopped. He's a force to reckon with. Also has a house rabbit. Is it still alive? I'm going to be really sad if it's not okay. Learned that last year. Following, we have Ronnie Barak, who is also at the Jazz Council. He is an internationally renowned Lebanese percussionist that specializes in a drum called the darbuka. He is a composer. He performs and composes fusion works, but also symphonies, and he has had the luckiest opportunity to be the first Lebanese musician to perform with the London Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
So he'll also inform you how to find his music on an online platform. He has a new 2-volume album out online. Is it 2 volumes? Is that what I would call it? 1 volume, but 2 discs, something?
No, well, Cycle of Return album. It's online.
Cycle of Return. And so you can find that online. Really encourage you to do that. He's amazing.
3 album, yeah.
And then last but not least, we have Lisa Marie Simmons. This is her first year. She is a longtime Boulderite. She grew up here, actually, before moving to New York City, and then has had a very global trajectory in career. She now lives in Italy. She's had #1 hit dance singles across Europe. She's a multi-talented performer. She writes poetry, publishes poetry, writes multidisciplinary albums and performance works. Her current work is called Note Speak, and it's really a fusion of her culture, her identity, and I'm so happy to see that and to have her share that with the world. So, what a crowd. We've got quite the lineup. From here, I'm just going to pretty much turn over the floor for most of the remainder. We won't have a ton of questions taken for this panel just because of our number of performers and number of speakers and people in this room and all sorts of things. But if you do have a question, please submit it to the CWA app. I hope you're all familiar with that at this time. You can just log into your CWA app, go to the panel. You can submit a question from there. Also, if you would like, there is a producer. Raise your hand. There's Adam. You can wave if you need a note card, and Adam will try to find his way to you with a note card for a more 2D way of submitting your question. I'll try to get to those, but also apologies if we don't do many questions. It'll mainly be how it feels organic. From there, I'm going to turn the floor over to these lovely people to give some opening remarks on what rhythm and words as a broad topic means to each of them. Cool.
I could just hold this. This is fine. This is good.
You can pop that out.
Yeah, actually I can. I got it. It's all good. I was going for comedic effect. Thank you. Hi. How we doing? Hi. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming. Hi. How are you?
Look how flexible the stage is. Thank you, UMC.
Good. Now that that's done, thank you. And that's my thing for today. Okay. Here, I'll tell you what. I'll scoot forward a little bit if that'll help. Anyway, somewhat, kind of, sort of, maybe. You'd rather stand up. Okay, fine.
Don't make him stand.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm a musician. I'm used to having people tell me what I should do. It's all right. Yeah. No, some of my compatriots here are like going, yeah. Okay. Well, my name is Ron, and I am a performing artist. As far as the theme of this panel with rhythm and words for me, they have been integral. They've gone hand in hand since I was a child, growing up listening to music, trying to figure out what someone was doing, like Frank Sinatra singing a tune like Old Black Magic, or Nat King Cole singing Straighten Up and Fly Right, which was one of my dad's favorite songs, and used it on us regularly. So to me, it's always been a unique marriage, you know. The words, being able to put them into a rhythmic context. Later, as I started understanding more about it, being able to apply that into my own life as a musician, as a performing artist, knowing that each person that I would interact, whether they were doing a performance or whether we were just talking before or afterwards, there was always a certain rhythm that they would incorporate. Each one of you have a certain rhythm within you. And that rhythm is part of what makes you you. We all have what I believe also are like sympathetic vibrations where we can connect with each other's rhythm. It's like starting off the session earlier with everyone checking each other's pulse. You can find everyone's rhythm. So now we get into this whole interactive thing about how rhythm and words applies. For me, in particular as a jazz musician, but also I was talking to Ernie earlier at lunch about having done classical study and played with orchestras. There's so much power within these elements that I now am able to tap into with this whole element of music. Being able to go ahead later on and study great singers and their approach to how they would phrase, listening to Beverly Sills, how she would sing the aria from Madame Butterfly and bring you to tears with it. Not just in the musical context of it, but the dynamics, but to actually go ahead and read the libretto, to see the words, to see the angst in the character as they're going through this incredibly passionate moment in their life, and how the rhythm of that all brings it to this huge crescendo. So by the end of it, you can't help but be moved. You can't help but be drawn by that level, by that intense emotion that's brought up within you because of the words, because of the rhythm. You hear the wind outside. There's a rhythm to it. Now, if we actually listen to the wind, let's not go into there. But with that said, that's kind of my preface into it. I'm an improviser. I'm always listening. I'm always trying to catch on to what someone is saying or what someone is doing with their music or just with their speech. It gives me insight that I can actually take with me, and I can utilize that. It helps me to either be better or worse in certain ways, but more so it just helps me to be able to grow. And part of that gig, from what we did last night, is for a lot of you experiences that we shared that growth with you, and we got it all back in return. So thank you for that. And that's all for my part for the moment. I'll be sitting now. Thank you.
Would you like a microphone?
Hello. How are you? Good to see you. It's pretty amazing to be up here with these beautiful people who are deeply talented and who live inside music. I am not a musician. I sing before I tell a story as a way of calibrating my body into that space that Ron was just talking about. And this idea that there's a sympathetic rhythm? Sympathetic vibration. That you transmit that out. That these incredible musicians, when they evoke that, when they tap into that, they transmit that directly into your body, and that swell of emotion you get is putting you into that sympathetic rhythm. For me, music, rhythm, and words are the oldest magics in the world. And we live in a very interesting time. And I think we have really underestimated that. When I say magic, I mean magic in the original sense of the word. I don't mean Harry Potter with wands and stuff. Magic is at the root of being human. And we were singing. They say we were singing before we were speaking. And we were speaking before we were writing. And we're so focused now on the written word and the text, but actually it's in this space where there's rhythm and words that we find connection, that we tap in. And if I look at all, and I mean all the old stories I've come across, no matter where they're from, the gods and the goddesses and the old figures from the other world, the non-human, they knew this. They knew about this power and they knew how to use it. Now I'll speak from my own culture. In the Irish tradition, say you're one of the goddesses, right? And you decide that you want to take some of these fellow gods that are with you and you want to bewitch them, and you start singing. And the voice, the power that she has in her voice, makes them forget who they are. That's inside those stories, which is manifested here with the human beings up here. The words that we use are power and magic as well, and we're not aware of that. I think as humans we don't pay enough attention to that, and we're learning that very hard right now about what words can do. So I suppose I'm more and more mindful with every passing year that what words I put out into the world carry that magic and power with them. So I pay attention to that. I don't want to say a whole lot more because I want to leave a lot of space because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Hi. I'm not a musician, and I'm not a storyteller. I don't know so much about rhythm or words. At least that's what I thought, because I'm an acrobat, I'm a circus performer. But when I started thinking about this a little bit more and about the art that I'm doing, I realized that I heavily rely on musicians and on people writing words for the acts that I'm doing on stage. All of my art is always accompanied by someone either playing live music or a CD playing a song that someone has written before. This kind of helps me on 3 levels. One, I have the feeling, even as a solo performer, that I'm never really alone on stage. I know that there's someone, another artist, that has already put thought into this song, into these words, that I'm now allowed to use to perform to. The second one is, I feel it's music that kind of turns the things that I do, the movements that I learned, that I trained for so many years just in a gym. Without music, they're just gymnastic movements. They're just technique. But together with the music and with the words, they all of a sudden make my body move very differently. It's what gives my movements a different kind of soul. And the third one is what Emily already touched on. I think it's the rhythm and heavily the music that kind of connects me with my audience. Because one of the goals of my performances is not only that people are amazed of what my body can do, but it's much more that the audience and me and all of the other performers that I'm on stage with, we have a moment together. We start to have the same heartbeat. We start to breathe in the same rhythm. We start to stop breathing because maybe a flip is happening. And this is really the kind of rhythm that makes it the most exciting to be on stage and to share a moment like this with the audience. So I don't know much about music, I don't know much about words. My performances rely a lot on music. But I have the great opportunity to pair up with beautiful Claire today, and we want to try a little experiment. We want to tell a story, or Claire wants to tell a story, and I will try to move to that story. We have no idea where it's going, but I guess that's what this panel is for. So we're excited.
Hello. How's everybody today? Good. It's a beautiful day. Let's go to the beginning. We're all a part of the same energy. We all come from the same energy flow. The primal rhythm is the heartbeat. Your heartbeat beats in 3. Various velocities of energy create different speeds of heartbeat. We all have different energy frequencies. That dictates how fast our heartbeat is. But the heartbeat is the primal rhythm. And everything comes from this primal rhythm, this primordial rhythm. As far as we know, that's how things began, right? As this rhythm, as this universal movement, as this universal flow, ebb and flow. And it was all fluid. And then it began to solidify. Through that solidification, we're talking about evolution. Through that solidification, eventually, we became matter. There became matter. From the original vibration, it slowed down to a point where it could become matter. In the beginning was the Word. The Word. What is the Word? The Word is thought, perception, concepts, manifesting into sound. Everything that we see, everything that we experience on the physical plane is a manifestation of thought, concept, perception. Therefore, one of the first laws of our universe, of the human universe, connecting universal flow and energy, is a hermetic law, the law of cause and effect. It's been manifested in a whole lot of different sayings and different words, but basically for our concept, for what we can perceive now on this earth plane, the way we are put together, the most basic thing is, it is done unto you as you believe. Your concepts, your thoughts, your ideas manifest into form, right? That box there was somebody's idea, right? Microphone, somebody's idea, this floor, those chairs you're sitting in. That's all really interesting. It all comes from concepts and ideas. Where do concepts and ideas come from? That's the big question. And then that comes down to your philosophy and what you believe in, and that's not what this is about today. The main two things are, though, the primal rhythm, which is the heartbeat of the universe that transfers into us individually, and the Word, right? The Word, which is our concepts, our thoughts, manifesting into spoken word, manifesting into things. So this is a very good place for me to stop.
Thank you very much, Ernie. I think you've said it all. Really, listening to Ronald and all of you guys, I absolutely agree with all of you. I was thinking, if there is no heartbeat, there is no life. The first thing is, when baby is created, is the heartbeat. And this is what gives life. So rhythm starts from that point for me, as the heartbeat. As a percussionist, not only as a percussionist, but as a musician, I always say I was lucky to be born as a musician, so as a percussionist as well. My instrument that I play, I started playing when I was 3.5. That's what my dad used to tell me. This instrument, I had it quite smaller actually. Yeah, for babies, but I don't know why I was really attached to that instrument. Till now, they ask me, how did you start? I say, I don't know. I don't know why that instrument, why I picked up that instrument, which was hanging in the shop. But there is a reason, I believe there is a reason. For like, I don't know, it's quite complicated if you think about it, why everyone is born differently than to others, you know. And this is what makes life exist, and we are connected to each other in different ways. And when I think about rhythm, everything in kind of my life, everyday's life, you know, is about rhythm. Starting from the clock and my body. This is the most important thing that always I say to students, rely on your clock, what you have here. So every one of us has a clock, and this is our rhythmical life. I can talk lots about rhythm, but I want to share a small experience with you. That last year I have experienced something new about my life that I will never have, thought about that I could do it. I always listen to people, they say, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, and positivity and all this is great. But never in my life I thought that I'm good in writing or lyrics or anything to do with words. My mind programmed, formatted for music, for arrangement, for orchestration, for melodies, beautiful. I love all that. And I do appreciate words, lyrics, poems, but really not like into it like music. I love like reading because I believe I have a bassy voice, so I enjoy just as an amateur reading with my bassy voice, especially in Arabic language. But I never thought in my life that I will write a word. And I've passed in a situation in my life that has made me write kind of poem. I've written about 6 or 7. Even my mom was surprised when I read it to her. My friends didn't believe it. My mom neither. So she said, come on, you've written this, Ronnie, what book did you, take it from? I said, no, believe me, I wrote this, So situations in our life can make us create something that we have never expected to do it. So, and I do believe that every one of us could do something that you will never think of, really. And I was really happy, and I'm still happy what I have done, even as an amateur, even as in Arabic language, of course. I was quite surprised, happy, proud of myself that I have tried something new in my life, has opened my mind to, I was in Amsterdam, I had a tour in Holland for 3 months, and it was raining outside. I remember I put my computer down and start writing 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, watching myself doing this. It was like, my God, what am I doing, Ronnie? I'm doing something, not music, nothing I have expected in my life to write a word. But I did it, and I encourage every one of you to do something, either in music, in dance, in painting, in anything that you love to do. Nothing is impossible. Rhythm and words are really important in our lives because the connection and the power and the energy of that can make us connected to each other. Thank you.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to see all of you. And wonderful words by all of these wonderful panelists, esteemed panelists. It really moved me. I particularly loved Claire's mention of the fact that words are so important. I'm obsessed with words. I'm obsessed. In fact, I was told to be brief, and I've got all these copious notes here to talk to you about words, but I love the fact that you underlined how the effect and the importance of the effect that words can have on the entire world. Another thing that struck me was also in Ernie's speech, talking about words and what they're formed of. Because basically words are what? They are, or even conversation, is about tone, right? Phrasing and rhythm is probably the most important thing, and then content. But those are the three parts, basically, of speech, right? So if you look at it culturally, I live in Italy, they tend to speak in a sort of a more monotone voice. You maybe have the idea of Italians gesturing wildly all of the time, especially from the South. And it's true, what the subtext of the words with Italians, they punctuate it with their gestures, whereas with the English language, we tend to modulate our voice so much more. We go up and down, up and down. The speed, the rhythm with which we speak, Latin languages tend to go faster, right? So all of those things I find fascinating. And let's see, I also between our disciplines, like what the work that we do, even if you're talking about poems, songs, spoken word, rap, they all have a different way of using rhythm, but it's integral to give it to portraying our concept, right? Letting you know what we're talking about. For example, if you think about rap music has a usually a very strict sort of structure and meter. You know, it's like I said, a hip hop, a hip it, a hip hip hop. You don't stop, a rockin' to the bam bam boogie. Said up jump the boogie. It's just, you know, it's all there. Whereas spoken word is a lot looser format. There's still meter, there's still rhythm, but it's a much looser format. And I'll maybe show you my idea of some of that in just a moment. If you think about the Beat Generation, their poetry, that also was sort of a conscious flow of words. But if you go through it and read it, again, there is a very important rhythm to convey the message. And that choice of meter speaks to you in a different way, touches you in a different place, right? If you think about Shakespeare, what was his famous meter is the iambic pentameter, which is the da-dum, 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 right? I can read you something. Let's see. And I won't read it with the da-dum, 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 because that would be irritating. But here it is. Here's a little sonnet. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. It's lovely. He uses the iambic pentameter, or he's not with us anymore. He used it usually when he was having his nobles speak. That was the noble speak, right? When he used the iambic pentameter. Famously, with Hamlet, he used the iambic pentameter when Hamlet was sane, and the less sane he got, the more he broke out of the rhythm, right? Which is a great way to convey that madness. Isn't it interesting? I find it fascinating. So I'm going to try an experiment as well with these gentlemen, or whoever who wants to participate that's on this panel here. With my new project, NoteSpeak, so my original project, Hippie Tendencies, which you can buy, let's do a plug really quick, at the bookstore, is sung. It's a collaboration of just songs, you know, so it's sung. And the new project that I'm working on, it's NoteSpeak, which will be out soon, is spoken word, more or less, with sort of jazz underneath it. Now, often spoken word that you see or hear that's with music has not been written together. It's like somebody does a spoken word piece, they search for a piece of music that more or less can accompany it, and they put it together. And our idea here was that the rhythm and the feelings that we wanted to convey were so important that we did not want to do it separately. With my co-composer, Marco Cremeschini, we spent a lot of time figuring out how to place the words within the music. There's a saying, and I bet Ernie has heard this saying before, that there are no wrong notes, just wrong placement. Right? And so we really wanted to try to make it so that this project was very, very integrated. So I'd like to perform one of the songs from that project, and it's going to be a complete experiment like this entire panel is. Within this song, I have also a part that is sung, which I will not do because we can't do that like on the fly, unfortunately. But I'll recite it to you. And I just think it will be interesting for you to see how easily we will be able, I'm confident of this. I've never played with them ever on anything. But I have no doubt that once I tell the story, I also refrained from telling the musicians the story previously because I wanted you to experience this with them, okay? I think just as I tell this story and I begin to speak it, just watch how we find the rhythm of this story together, okay? So let me see. The story is about this woman who's called Samia Yusuf Omar. She was an Olympic hopeful in 2008, and she was from Somalia, and she went to the Olympics in Beijing, and she gave it her all and arrived last. And she had on these torn sneakers and a good luck headband from her dad, but her exuberance and her beauty was such that the entire stadium rose to greet her and cheer her when she arrived, right? So you would think when she went back to Somalia that she would be a conquering heroine and come back and be venerated, but it was not so. So because of the political climate and the changes that happened, she was forced to train for the next Olympic Games in a burqa, and just in terrible situation. So she decided she'd go to Europe to train. And at the time, she could not enter Europe. She had to take a long journey. It took her almost a year through Libya and Sudan and many different places in trucks, below rugs, just in horrible, horrible conditions to come to Italy. She wanted to come to Italy. And she got within sight of the shore in Lampedusa, and there was a problem with the boat, and she jumped out. She was so desperate to arrive, and she ended up drowning there. It's a horrible story, and the thing is that in my eyes, there are thousands. I told you, they told me to be brief. They knew it was me. Gosh darn it. There are thousands and thousands of people who die every year coming into Lampedusa, and she's just one of the treasures that we're losing. So I thought I ought to write a song about it or a poem about it to help people to remember that each one of us is a poem. You know, every life is a poem. So let's see if we can't, I can't tell you that story with this, with these gentlemen. I think I'm going to try to put this up here, see if this will work. So I don't have to be holding it in my hand. Yeah, that'll do. I think it's okay. Samia Yusuf Omar. Samia Yusuf Omar. Samia Yusuf Omar. Faster, 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 how you flew. Running while chained, you maintained every hope as you trained your eyes on the pinnacle, the Olympic. Inspired, some would say, even mystic. Your name is a mantra for all women oppressed. The nature and means in which you went about your quest can only attest to your grandeur, how you flew. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Faster, 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 faster. I have read that you were a joyous girl. Though they called you a corrupted one, bright sun. Condemned for the sin of standing out when that is what being a star is all about. Going about your business, fearless, with dignity, a sense of humor as you tried for your family, for yourself, to find a way to live a life away from the blunt edge of that blade. You stayed in that stateless society. In 1991, just like you and just like you, it too died young. It had not so much to do with anarchy as with insanity. And while it left behind chaos, death, and pain, you were left a heroine, unsung. Yet you lit a light that still is hung. What a journey to undertake. Now that took guts. That took heart. The cuts you had to endure on the way indelibly imprinted on that fresh start. Somalia to Ethiopia. Sudan to Libya. Arrived in Tripoli, then headed for Europe. Entry by Italy, almost there. The very last leg. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Faster, 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 faster. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Samia, Yusuf, Omar. Samia.
I don't know who wants to go next, but there's mine. I'll happily do another one after everybody else has done something. I'll happily continue. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.
Don't mind the contortionist who's just gone into the corner.
Just ignore her. She's just warming up.
Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let us continue in the path of least resistance. So, using the rhythm element, using the element of words, or in this case, sound. Here's my little experiment, because I get to do this stuff pretty much all over the country, if not all over the world, with students. So let us all put ourselves into the student moment, if you will. It's time to get interactive. Okay? I'll stand for this part. Seemed like the thing to do. What we need for you all to do is very simple. we're going to establish a dialogue. Okay? And we're going to use your rhythm. And with each of us over here on this one, whether it's a story that you want to tell, whether you're going through your warm-up, whether you're going through and you want to be able to interpretively play something behind that one, we're going to establish a dialogue with you. Okay? And at any given point, I may go ahead and ask, just being on the side of an improviser, to go ahead and look into, say, one section of people. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Or 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just point, and I'm going to give you a rhythm. And I want to see what you do with it. Okay? So let's get interactive, shall we? Cool. Now, I'm sure you all can hear me. There you go, especially the guys in the front row. Very simple. Right foot, left foot. Okay, again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. I like it. I'm conducting now. And 1 and 2, 3, go. Right, left, 2, 3, hand. Right, left. 3, 4. 3, 4. 3, 4. Keep going. I like it. So now, that's your part, okay? No, keep going, keep going. Clap, 3, 4. Clap, 3, 4. Now we have this dynamic of rhythm. So, Professor Watts, what could you do with this rhythmic dynamic that we're establishing? This is the exciting part, I have to admit. So, if I'm going, whoa, yeah, 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 whoa, yeah.
Gorgeous. Beautiful.
All right, who needs coffee? Yeah, me too. Okay. Did you notice the rhythm? We changed certain things about it. All of a sudden, you notice also another improvisational element where some of the other panelists decided to go ahead and chime in. And next thing you know, you've got these different rhythms. You've got these layerings, but they all fit. But do you realize what else was happening at that moment when you had this interaction going on with each other and with each different group? On top of all of this, there was a story that was being told, and that story had shape. It had form, it had rhythm, it had drive, it had substance. It had some of the sickest virtuosic chops you'll ever hear on a saxophone. Just ridiculous. And he's so nice! And his wife's even nicer! I'm just saying. But that's what we talk about. We use rhythm. We interact with rhythm. We can create our own environment based on this. And all of a sudden, everybody in the room is going, oh yeah, wow, wasn't that great? That was so cool. We just became a family. Come on.
So, me and Lena had an idea, and I think y'all should just jump in on it, was what should happen. So, people of the audience, Lena's going to be using her instrument, and they're going to be using their instrument. I'm going to tell a story, and we're going to clear a little space here. I can move that over there. But if you feel like singing, playing, doing what, just get in on it. I don't know what's going to happen. So if you want to see better, we would encourage anyone who wants to move in the first row or so to make more of a circle. Because the way people have told stories and listened to music for a long time, since the beginning of the beginning, is in circle. So like if you want to get up and move around here, our moderator says it's okay. So if you want to be able to see her, because she's going to be on the ground.
Do you want to move the cue?
Can you hear me? Yeah, that would be amazing.
Just make something like a little bit of a half circle here and really just move around with your chairs. Sorry to make you move so much in this panel, but
That's it, exactly, yes.
just to make a little bit, to move a little bit back and maybe fill the circle here.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. No worries. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. I'll just take this off so it's not.
Let's all gather around the campfire, shall we?
Yeah.
Tell you what, for the sake of actually helping this out a little bit more, for you people here in these two front sections here, if you could probably move back from some of the chairs approximately a foot. If you can just go back about 12 inches, that'll probably help a little bit more, just to give you a little more space. I have a feeling this is about to get really good.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if this is that? Yeah. Are they? Okay. Yeah, I'll mention that. I'm going to mention that me and Lena have not rehearsed. This is an experiment. I've just told her the story, that she knows the story. That's it.
Just a moment before we get too far. We need the AV people. We're live streaming this panel, so we need to clear the aisle. So if anybody's standing in the aisle, shift to one side or the other. If you see those cameras, that's the shot you're trying to get out of. A little bit more. We'll just check that, and then just go where this nice man with red headphones is telling you to go. Rue, we might need you to move to the side. Well, let's see. What do we need? Sorry. Okay. We're working it out. Just a second. Is that straight shot? Let's check. We'll check. Good? Bad? Good? Okay, awesome. Thanks.
All right. I'm gonna. Well, I could. Okay. A long, 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 long time ago, in the north part of the world where it is cold, for reasons long lost in history, a man took his daughter to the edge of a cliff. And we don't know what she did, and we don't know why he got so angry. But he pushed her over the edge, and she fell. She fell down through the air, the cold, dark air, and she hit the water below. Water was cold, and her body sank deeper and deeper. And death came for her. As she fell in that darkness, that cold ocean stripped the flesh from her bones. The fish and the creatures began to eat the flesh. The bones fell to the bottom of the sea. Seaweed wrapped its way around her, twisting around her. Creatures crawled into her eye sockets. And there she lay. For a long time in the cold and in the dark, she lay. Many, 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 many years later, a man, a fisherman who made his life from the sea, who went out in his boat in that freezing cold every day, every week, trying to catch something. And he had a line, long, thin line, and he would throw it out to see what he could catch. One day the line went down through the water, with the hook falling down through the sea. And all of a sudden, that hook caught on something. Something big. Something heavy. Man was getting excited. Something was moving. Maybe a dinner that would feed him for a week, maybe a month was moving up through the water. And it began to poke through the tops of the waves. Bony white. Looked at what he saw, and it was bones, and it was seaweed, and it was creatures, and it had 14 eyes, and he was very scared. It was bigger than him and bigger than the boat, and he couldn't see the skeleton because he was so scared. So he dropped the line and he started paddling really, really fast. The line was still attached to his ankle, so he pulled her behind him. Poor skeleton woman, wrapped up in seaweed and mollusks, dragged behind this boat, and the man looked behind him, and the monster was following him. He got to land. He jumped out of his boat and he started running towards his tiny little igloo. The fishing line was still around his ankle. The monster was still following him. So he dove into his tiny little house. Something was pulled in behind him. In the dark, he could feel his heartbeat. Finally calming down. He was safe. It was going to be all right. So he lit the little candle made of fat. And as the heat and the light grew out from the candle, he saw inside his house the monster. But you know, in the light of the little house, he saw that there were some bones, and he saw there was some seaweed, and there was a crab, and maybe that wasn't a monster, because it was because of his fishing line that she was all tangled up, and he realized this was a human being. But her hip was where her neck was, and her knee was where her nose was supposed to be. So he started to disentangle his line. He found her piece by piece, pulling away the seaweed and the line and the mollusks, the crabs, and he put the bones where they were supposed to be. And there she was, all the right way up, lying down on the floor of his cave, his little igloo. And lying there all bones, she looked real cold. He felt sorry for her, so he took his fur and he went over and he wrapped it around her. So exhausted from all that fear and adrenaline that he fell asleep. And Skeleton Woman, all that time she had been watching, so afraid what was he going to do, but he put her back together. And now he was asleep. And as he slept, he dreamt. And as he dreamt, a tear formed and fell from the corner of his eye. And she knew one thing, and that was she wanted that tear. So with the last bit of energy of her soul, she tilted her skull and she caught that tear as it fell. And inside that tear was everything. All the desire, the love, the longing, the loneliness of that man's existence. All his breathing, all his adventures, and she felt her organs grow back. She felt her skin grow back. She felt her hair grow back. And when he woke, under that fur beside him was a fully fledged woman. And my friends, they got tangled back up all over again. Please don't go out that back door.
Oh, it's somebody opened the emergency exit.
it. So the alarm went off.
All right, thank you very much. Before we go, any questions?
Any answers?
Yeah. I think somebody opened it.
That's right. I thought like you have to leave the room or something. I didn't know.